everyone, Violet here, homeschooling mom of 3. I have a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and an infant. Today I wanted to share with you First Language Lessons by Jessie Wise, so let's get into it. First Language Lessons is a classical style grammar program for first and second graders. So this is the old edition. It has volumes 1 and 2 in one volume. Most of the lessons are completed orally. There are a few lessons that, especially in the second level, they start to ask your child to do copywork and more writing. We skip all of those because we're doing the writing with ease also from Well-Trained Mime. And so we just do all of our writing with that. So here's the table of contents for this book. Here's the first grade table of contents. As you can see, there are 100 lessons for each grade. So you end up doing this 2 to 3 times a week. And they explain how to schedule it in the introduction. How to use this book, an explanation of their methodology. And then it talks about the 4 different strands in this book: memory work, copying and dictation, narration, and then grammar. Like I said, we skip the copywork and dictation in this book because we do it in writing with ease. So these lessons are designed to be very, very short and just a very basic introduction to grammar for the young child. So this book is for level 1's for first graders and level 2 is for second graders. So the very first lesson is on nouns, and the first 30 lessons are mostly focusing on nouns, which is a lot. My child did not need that much repetition, so we skipped and condensed lessons to be an appropriate length for her. I do think it's good that they have that much repetition. If your kid needs it, it's already there for you. Each lesson is fully scripted, but it's very easy to skip stuff or condense the lessons if your kid doesn't need that much repetition, which is what we did. Another note about these lessons is that a lot of the noun lessons in the beginning of the book use a traditional family structure to illustrate different kinds of nouns. So if your family deviates from that or that's not going to work for you, you will need to modify that, possibly look at something else. So this is the first kind of lesson, a grammar lesson. And then the second kind of lesson in here is a memorization lesson, and they use poetry. So this is the very first a poem that your child will memorize with this program. Some people skip the poetry memorization. My daughter really enjoyed it, so we have done it all. And you can see here some of the lessons have enrichment activities. We skipped all the enrichment activities. They're not necessary for getting the real meat of this program. All right, and then the next kind of lesson in here is a narration lesson where you'll read a story to your child. This describes narration and what you're getting out of it, and then the story starts down here. So you read that story to your child, and then it has scaffolded questions down here to help your child begin to pick out the important parts of the story and craft summaries and narrations and summaries. So I think this is a really important skill, narration and summarizing, that can be skipped sometimes, and if your child struggles with it, having these really well scaffolded incremental questions is really, really helpful. All right, the last kind of lesson is picture narration, where you have your child look at a picture and then narrate what's going on, and again, there are questions for you to ask about the picture. So this is the old edition, like I said. The newer edition splits level 1 and 2 into 2 separate volumes. The text is the same text, but it's formatted differently, so some people find it much, much easier to read. And then I think the pictures may have been improved a bit in the new edition. I opted to get this old edition because it was significantly cheaper, and it's always something I consider when I'm looking at curriculum. So some of the other things that your child will memorize here, they're memorizing the days of the week and the months of the year if they don't already know those, and then it's teaching your child how to write a date. So the copywork here would be different dates and practicing writing that date format. I skipped this with my kid. She writes her date on her math work normally, so she didn't need this extra instruction. So we just went over it orally, and then we skipped the writing portion. But if your kid needs that, it's in there for you. So by the end of the first grade year, you'll have memorized, your child, and you too, will have memorized all of these poems, and you'll have covered nouns, verbs, and 3 different sentence types. And then second grade starts with a bit of review, covering everything that you went over the year before. Here's an example of a grammar lesson in level 2. It's a little bit longer, reviewing nouns and verbs again. And now you're starting to get into more detail with verbs, because the first year's lessons on verbs were very basic. So now we're talking about different kinds of verbs and memorizing linking verbs, and helping verbs. And for this lesson, they have copywork and an enrichment activity, which we never do. And you don't need to do, in my opinion, if you're getting writing somewhere else. And the enrichment activities are just for extra fun. This is an example of poetry memorization in level 2. You can see it's a lot longer. And this is helping solidify that months of the year memorization they did in the first level. There's also things scattered in here that are more kind of like general good things to know that I guess usually fall under grammar program, like addressing letters and addressing envelopes. Here's an example of a picture narration in this second level. We do the narration for this, and then since we've learned prepositions, talking about different prepositions in the answers the child gives you. And then the very last lesson, or the second to last lesson in this second level is narration. It's around the same length, a little bit longer. But now the second lesson is a wrap-up review where you go back through the story and you pick out everything you learned that year. So the nouns, the pronouns, everything listed here, you'll label it in the story. And they build up to this, starting with labeling just the nouns in the story earlier on in the level. But this is kind of your wrap-up. Everything we've learned this year, now we're going to label all of it in the story. And then back here, there's glossary, and then all the definitions you've memorized, and then all the lists of things you've memorized, and an index. So I was afraid that when we started this, my daughter was going to find it really dry, but she's actually really enjoyed it. The lessons are very short, and she feels a lot of pride in how much she's been able to memorize and remember. Her recall with this is really good. When I ask her something, she remembers it. So we've been really, really happy with this program, especially for the price. I don't think you can find a better budget grammar option. I paid, I think, $5 for this used, and new, even the newer edition that's split into 2 volumes, it's still not very expensive. So we've been really, really happy with it. I hope you found this helpful. Thank you for watching. I'll put links in the description box below. I'm not sure I'll be able to link this old edition, but I'll definitely link the newer edition. As always, I'm an Amazon affiliate, so if you click on an Amazon link, I do receive a small commission. Thank you for watching.